Welcome to the Green Zone Podcast, the show that teaches oil and gas executives how to take command of their finances and live in the green. Your host, Jeff Green, from Green Financial Group, will be your financial guide, all while giving you a tour of the most beloved and best-kept secret spots around Houston, Texas. Now, on to the show.
How do you step up when the time comes to more fully support an aging relative? That's the question in this episode of The Green Zone with Jeff Green and Lauren Smith, and it's a question that will face more and more people as science and medicine extend our lifespans. Jeff, Lauren, why did you choose this specific topic?
So this one kind of came to me after a movie that I watched recently and then forced Jeff to watch shortly after. So I don't know how many of you have seen the new Netflix movie. It's called I Care a Lot. Really interesting.
Great movie.
It's a great movie because it's an interesting take on, I've never seen anything really along these lines.
Well, let's face it, there hasn't been a lot of new movies made during Corona world,
Yes.
right? And the ones that have been made really aren't that
They're not
good.
that great.
But this one on Netflix, I really liked it. It was good.
Yeah, I liked it too. And the basic premise is you've got a woman, she is a caregiver that gets appointed by the court to give care for people that maybe don't have families, elderly, aging people. And she's also a con artist. So she works with doctors to get, these elderly
in cahoots with the doctor.
In cahoots with doctors to get these perfectly fine, stable, elderly people to be declared unfit to take care of themselves. So then she becomes their caregiver, sticks them in a home, takes over their house, sells their house, uses their assets, and then goes and funds herself a nice lifestyle and drives a Maserati. But all of this just leads to the question of caregiving. And,
right. We don't want that to happen to you.
No. And what are you doing to protect yourself at some point in the future and also your family and aging relatives?
So let's hit a couple of the high. There's certainly a lot of things, Lauren, but let's hit a couple of the high points here. You take off the first one and let's go from there. I'll hit a couple with you.
First of all, also don't panic if this isn't a conversation that you've had yet with your kids, with your parents, with other family members. It's definitely not an easy conversation to have, but it's one that, needs to stay in the back of your mind and needs to be had at some point. And, there's a lot of information to manage, and caregiving is definitely not a one and done task, and it's never too late to start and seek professional help along the way. Just kind of begin where you are now, and it's okay. And it'll take some time, but you'll get there. And there's, a handful of topics that need to be covered, but one of the first ones is really to assess the care recipient's needs. So whether that's you thinking about the care that you want when you get to this stage in your life, or, if you have older family members that are already there, it's time to really focus on ensuring that their medical needs are met and how you want to monitor the quality of their life and their care moving forward. There should be confirmation that assets and income sources are available to pay for these healthcare costs, and that the care that they want remains uninterrupted into the future.
And there's certain ways that you can plate accounts. So if I had an account in my name, for example, and something happened to me, if I had a transfer on death on my account to, say, one of my boys or whoever, then they don't have to go through that process of probate and all that to get money to access to help, take care of my needs. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
So the transfer on death is one of the ways that, that you can set up your heirs to at least have access to funds to help. If you're ever named the estate, the executor, the executor of a will, it's an honor, but it's really, no one's doing you any favors. I've been the executor, and it is a very hard task if the deceased has not set things up properly for you. And in order to set things up, probably got to do that while you're living. And that means talking about your finances too, and the transfer on death, giving them access to funds to, make arrangements for you, et cetera. But your finances, become important. You need to go over all forms of, the executor, your heirs need to know where your income is coming from. Social Security, retirement accounts, 401k distributions, annuities, brokerage accounts, dividends, and so on. That needs to be a very clear picture. And you and I, Lauren, have preached before about having all of this in one place. All this information goes in one spot. We, on our website, we have a place for our clients called the Vault, where we highly encourage our clients to list all of this information in detail. So account numbers, the vault's very secure. So you want to put all the information that you can in there regarding income, assets, where things are, et cetera, and how your heirs can access them.
And another thing that's important to really pay attention to is just your ability as you get older and your loved ones' abilities as they get older to continue to manage their finances. Unfortunately, that ability can deteriorate over time. So you need to consider who has access to the bank account, who has access to the credit cards. Senior care experts advise that it's important to look for signs of confusion in yourself if you can identify it, but also in your loved ones. Are the household bills being paid? Have any bank accounts been overdrawn? Any weird spending habits? You have to pay attention to those kind of things, the things that seem a little suspicious, a little out of line. And I know for a lot of us, it's hard. You don't ever want to think that mom's just mom's just being funny. She spent $5,000 on, some new shoes. It's funny, haha, but like maybe that's a sign that she's not really at the stage anymore where she can handle that. That's why it's important to really understand family members as they're aging. And then it's important to get things in place like a power of attorney and like a healthcare directive. If your loved one loses the ability to make their own medical decisions, a healthcare agent has the power to direct doctors, hospitals, and nursing facilities to make those decisions for them. So, when you're thinking about this for yourself, you really want to figure out who that person's going to be, who is someone that you can trust and that will have your best interests at heart. My parents and I laugh because they have two very different ideas of end of life. My mom, keep me alive. They're going to find a cure. My dad's like, I'll be okay to go if it's at that time. They rely on me to honor their wishes and to make sure that what they have mapped out for their final years is what actually happens. So it's really important that the people that you assign for that in your own life really understand what you want, and that you, if you play that role for someone else, are able to fully understand and be able to execute their wishes.
Yeah, I've played that role. My father, God rest his soul, passed, several years ago, and he had me as his power of attorney and executor of the state. And, I had to decide, he went on life support, and he had chosen, he did not want to live that way. He was being kept alive by a machine. And then, he put the decision on me to pull the plug. And that was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my life. And I didn't do it alone. I gathered my sisters around and family, and, we had a discussion, but ultimately, I had to make that call. But I made the call that he wanted, and he had not only written that in his will, but he had told me verbally, while he was alive and healthy and of very sound mind and body. And so it's important to relay this information about your wishes, while you're cognitive, while you don't have dementia, and make sure your heirs know, the people that you care about the most know. So it's not all about money. It's about some of the other things in life too.
And one thing that's really important to keep in mind, if you do become a caregiver for someone else, it's really important to keep your mental health, your physical health, a priority for yourself also. It's an unfortunate reality that emotional stress and depression can become really rampant with those people that are spending so much of their lives caregiving for someone else, especially
that's not an easy job,
especially a family member that you love and you want to, take care of, but
right.
You're dedicating your time to that. And there's actually the AARP reports that 81% of caregivers found their own depression worsening while giving care, and 91% of caregivers in fair or poor health suffer from depression. So it's
not surprising
for you to seek help. And if there's, if you're the sole caregiver for a family member, if you have any siblings that can come help, there's, you need to be doing what you need to do also to take care of yourself, to be at the level to take care of the loved one.
Well, you go back to what we talked about at the start of the pandemic and lockdowns, and about your mind, your body, your spiritual self, and the things that we would do. Make sure we're working out. Make sure we're reading something positive. Turn off the talking heads, as I like to call them, that do nothing but depress us all, and read something positive. Get some positive thoughts in your mind.
I mean, undoubtedly, it can be stressful for most people. So without a caregiving plan, it becomes extremely overwhelming. So I mean, that's why it's important to really start discussing these issues with your kids and your future caregivers as soon as possible. In addition to, discussing it with family members you see might need help or care in the future. And we're here to help always. Even though every family situation is different, we have the depth of knowledge and expertise to at least help you get the financial aspect in line and make sure your accounts are coded correctly to help in the future. If there's insurance or long term care that you're interested in, to make sure that your heirs don't suffer and have pressure put on them financially, we're here for that. We can direct you in the legal arena. If it's
Estate attorneys,
estate attorney,
highly,
will,
if you don't have your wills, if you haven't updated your will in the past 5 years, you get it done.
power attorney, medical
yes,
directives, all of those things need,
very important.
a sophisticated legal professional that can get it all on paper and make sure your wishes are executed exactly how you want it. It's a really important topic. Unfortunately, not one of our most fun podcasts to discuss, but something that
I like the spring cleaning one we did earlier.
yeah, I think that one was a little more lighthearted and a little more
But we got to
exciting.
get this stuff out. So there it is, Patrice.
All right. It is a tough topic that raises lots and lots of questions. So, Jeff and Lauren, how can listeners reach you if they need some answers?
Absolutely. We have a website, greenfinancialgrp.com. You can also reach us by phone, 713-244-3030. That's 713-244-3030.
And if you have any questions on this or just even what you need to do to get started for planning for yourself, planning for family members, give us a call, free 15-minute consultation. We've got a link to that on our website. We're happy to talk and, lead you in the best direction.
Schedule a call with me or Lauren.
And that is Jeff Green and Lauren Smith of Green Financial Group. And to make sure you know when new episodes of their Green Zone are ready for you, subscribe to the podcast and, of course, share.
Thank you for listening to the Green Zone podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Green Financial Group. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Green Financial Group is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. Jeff Green is the founder of Green Financial Group and is a registered principal of RJFS. The Green Financial Group is located at 6363 Woodway Drive, Suite 625, Houston, Texas, 77057, and can be reached at 713-244-3030. Raymond James is not affiliated with and does not endorse the opinions or services of his guests.